It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It doesn't even have to be here to command that presence. It's been quite an intense show. There's been a lot of laughter, but there's also been a lot of emotion. So we thought, let's temper that with a bit of love, right?
Of course. Tomorrow at the movies is for the romantics of all stripes, all walks, all cultures, colours and ages, as the big screen asks, what's love got to do with it?
Really? And that's all around the topic of arranged marriage. There could not be a better premise for a romantic flick. I love it. So at the front of Love's Ups and Downs are actors Lily James of Mamma Mia 2, you might remember her, or Baby Driver. This could be her big break. And then Shahzad Latif of Star Trek Discovery, Penny Dreadful. Absolutely awesome.
Yep, JP got to sit down with both stars to pop the big question in time for the big screen.
For their big moment.
So, Lily James, Shahzad Latif, I want to tell you guys first, congratulations. I think what you've bitten off in the subject matter is pretty challenging to wrap your head around, to wrap your brain around. And you guys, you did it totally naturally for what should just be like a run-of-the-mill rom-com. Difficult stuff. Firstly, if I can just summarize real quick, you play lifelong friends. Shahzad, you are boy next door, who makes up his mind that he's going to have an arranged, or as the movie refers to, an assisted marriage. And Lily, you play girl next door, who sees this as an irresistible subject for her career as a documentarian, but is still shocked by her friend of all these years making this drastic decision. So then I'll start with the man at the center of things making this heavy decision. How do we find your character arriving at this place to have an arranged marriage? That's pretty intense.
I think he's a very dutiful son. He's got a real sense of duty, especially the fact that his sister got, you know, there's a big secret in the family that the sister's been sort of pushed out in a way, and so that sense of him being now the oldest man in the family, he's got that sense of responsibility, and he's like, I need to make sure everything stays together. So that's one way of keeping it together, is to please his parents. Also, he's seen it work with them, so for him it's not a weird thing. It's not out of the blue. It's like, oh yeah, of course, my cousin done it, my mum done it. You know, that's a normal thing for him. So I think for both those reasons, he's going, well, you know what? And he's got a stressful job. He's you know what? I will do that, and it's not working the other way. He drinks, he smokes, he does all the things, but he's like, well, now it's time to settle down, I suppose.
But the movie very briskly challenges all of our sort of, I suppose, Anglo-spheric prejudices, you know, citing the statistics of how long those marriages last versus, you know, UK marriages, or let's say westernized UK marriages, et cetera, et cetera. Lily, hopping over to you real quick, what I appreciated about your character, Zoe, is that I don't think it's accurate to call her confused. I think it's a really patronizing trope that you see with, oh, career woman doesn't know where her head is at type thing. Where would you describe her, a very well-written character?
I think she's just really unapologetic in her choices, and she's doing what she wants. And I think there's such bravery and commitment to that. And, you know, but I think as life's progressing, her choices seem to be getting smaller in that, you know, as a woman, you start feeling this kind of like, need to have children, and what's that going to look like for you, and the ways that she's been trying to meet men hasn't been working out, and she's not finding something that she really wants to sort of commit to. So she's just beginning to feel the pressure more of the choices that she is making. But I think what's so great about Zoe is when she starts like opening up a bit and sort of being a bit more vulnerable, she starts to find out more about herself, and through the process of making that film about Kaz and about that culture and about the ways in which you can fall in love. And I think that it just sort of changes her whole perspective on life. But I think Jemima wrote it in a way that I really, really connected to Zoe and what she's going through, and I really wanted that to be something that women and girls would relate to watching the film.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, it seemed like a totally progressive portrayal more than, oh, she'll need a man by the end of things. In fact, you can tell by the line of questioning. I asked the guy about his love choices and I asked the girl about her profession. Which, you know, just comes naturally from the progression of the movie. So speaking of Jemima, did you go all sort of documentarian style digging into her life? Because it obviously there are biographical dimensions to this movie as well. Or with both of you, in fact, is it just everything's on the page and it will bloom as it blooms? What was the research process?
Well, yeah, I suppose Jemima done I mean, she knows that world so well. So the script had a lot of detail. It was detailed. It was nuanced. It was detailed. It was packed, jam-packed with everything that needed to be there. Then our job with Shaker was then to bring the feeling alive. You know, for me, it was about our relationship and making sure that was very truthful. That was the key for me. And then, yeah.
Yeah, I think so much of it was in the script. We were getting to learn have Jemima on set, and I also personally I spoke to a few documentary filmmakers, and I wanted to sort of like be able to handle the camera with ease so that felt authentic. So I had some help from some of the guys in the crew and stuff like that. But and I took the camera around with me everywhere and practiced, you know, feeling natural.
There's such breadth to this script, like you say. It's really rich just at the outset, given a history as well. So yeah, it's a lot to chew on, and I think that you guys did really. And it's very, very thought-provoking stuff that you guys did, but also it's got a lot of heart. It's not like brutal or anything.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Ciao, guys. Thank you.
Oh, I love that look on the stars' faces when they get something that they haven't gotten from any other critic. He is amazing. JP, we love you. More from him around what looks like a beautiful film with a really interesting take on love. I think there are a lot of us out there who would be like, I prefer an arranged marriage. Just hook me up and just sort me out.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Yep, we love Thursdays because they throw forward to Fridays. And of course, on a Friday, we love the fact that movies are back, and we've got a host of amazing new movies releasing tomorrow, and we've been focusing on a few through JP.
Yeah, it's time to take another look at the movies that are releasing tomorrow. Before the break, we took a look at JP's interview with the stars of What's Love Got to Do With It, Lily James and Shakar Kapoor.
Now, our movie dude plumbs even more of the love's conundrum with its director, who, of course, has a very tough job trying to navigate these waters and certainly got the credentials. Previous standouts include Elizabeth.
Amazing movie.
The Four Feathers. Absolutely beautiful. Here is JP with Shakar Kapoor. Enjoy.
Director Kapoor, my name is JP. So it's a great honor to be speaking with you today. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure, thank you.
Director for What's Love Got to Do With It. A thought that's sort of been developing in all my preceding interviews now with Jemima and with Nitin and Naughty Boy. A lot of movies ambitiously try to tick a lot of boxes, hit a lot of bases, cultural criticism, stories about gender, women being career professionals, etc., etc. And it's really hard to get that right. But somehow everything about your movie felt totally natural about how it was trying to hit every one of the marks. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So, did you start out with singularly, okay, I want to do a thing about arranged marriages, or as it's referred to in your movie, assisted marriages, and did these other themes develop on top of it as the process went along, or was that all at the outset?
Well, the first thing that developed for me is the idea of intimacy. You know, when we are born, we have a natural need for intimacy, and I've long wondered, how do we find, in times of Tinder, how do you find intimacy? Are you looking, how do you find it? Or do you find it? Yeah, and you struggle, and people struggle, but it is all still a search for intimacy. They might say it's all about sexuality, but ultimately that is also a search for intimacy. And then in the East, where I come from also, is the intimacy develops over time. But now instant intimacy and intimacy that grows. Now, let's take the word love away, let's call it intimacy, because our first act is being put on the mother's chest, and it's intimate. And our last act before we go, we want to hold somebody's hand. That's intimate. So that was the first thought that I started with. So it made it much broader. Now, within the context, I looked at everything. That's how I saw the film, yeah.
That's so beautifully put. That's so poetic. Thank you. I also loved reading about your prep with the actors, the table reads and all of that. It seems like, I'm sure that as a director, there are a lot of mechanical processes that you go through, but like a lot of your process seems quite organic. You seem like you wanted to get quite philosophical with them, asking them, okay, well, what do you think about love? What was your process with building your actors and building the characters like that in that philosophical kind of way?
My job in my actors is to make them find themselves first, right? And then find themselves in the characters that are playing. And often I will not come to any set and ask them to play as I see the character. I will ask them to play the character as they see the character. And therefore, they have to find the character in themselves. And that's my job as a director. And then I'll use any tools. The table tennis scene, you know, they were both one day together somewhere and said, what are you guys doing? I was on Zoom like you're with me. And then they said, oh, we played table tennis. I said, really? Are you guys good? Any good? Can I beat you? And that started a chain of thought. And then that developed into a scene where they're playing table tennis and talking about the most fundamental things. Where did that develop? Because they both were playing table tennis in their own homes with each other. So that's how a film develops organically. But the actors make it happen organically. My job is to make it organic for them. And then it develops organic. That's why it feels real, because they're not being real. They're not parroting anything. They're internalizing it and coming out with it.
Yeah, it was really naturalistic. And I think people will be like pretty shocked if they thought, oh, they were just going to go on autopilot and go watch a rom-com. Very thought-provoking.
It's not a rom-com. That's what I keep saying, and everybody kills me for saying that. There's comedy in all our lives, right? But it's not, the moment you start to define comedy, people start to play at comedy. Nobody is really playing at comedy. Everybody's playing a part that is inherently arising from them, and therefore it's a drama. It's an emotional family drama in search of people in search of themselves, and often it's funny. So it's about people in search of intimacy and love, but it's quite funny also. So how would you describe that? I don't have a word for it.
And I think that a lot of people will be surprised that they don't have a box they can put it into in that way. What would you say then, if we're going to use that, like maybe too used up a genre of rom-com? I think that genre has, would you say that it's confused a lot of people over history? And then what's love got to do with it? Draw a line in the sand of how we should try and think about these things differently.
I think we do think about it differently. It's only that the films try and box them up. You know, all of us, you and I do. We don't think about love as a rom-com, but we have fun with it also. But, you know, rom-com became a very, very definite genre. Working Title, who produced this film, are the masters of rom-com. I think they developed the very concept of the word rom-com. So it's Tim Bevan and Eric Fellner, and I call them Mr. Rom and Mr. Com. So, you know, so that's the rom-com. It became a very interesting genre. But I think life has taken over now. And what we, or as filmmakers and actors, all of us did, we injected real life into rom-com. Not that it never was, but we pushed the barrier of injecting real life, real emotion into a rom-com.
That's so interesting that I didn't think of it the way you did. Like, it's easy to think of us maybe too much as cattle as viewers, but like you were like, no, we're not confused by rom-coms necessarily. So I think this has given people a lot to chew on. I think after your date, there's dinner afterwards, and both you and your significant other are going to be like, wow, all of my prejudices and misconceptions. I think that your movie really challenges that in a very humane and not brutal way, even to the genre. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, JP. What's Love Got to Do With It is coming out this Friday, tomorrow, at cinemas near you. Very exciting movie, lots of emotional intelligence, and just, I think, something that we all quite need.